It's Wednesday, it's 6:30 p.m., and I'm here with Henrietta Killinger.
Hello, my name is Henrietta Killinger, Hattie, and today we are here to talk about Welcome to the 21st Century.
And with the welcoming of the 21st century, like the inauguration, it's very exciting times.
It is exciting. I feel like we're on the cusp of a revolution with how politicians have really been kind of pulling a fast one over voters, taxpayers, the people who elect them to these offices. We entrust these individuals with making the best decisions for our community. And when that doesn't happen, we get angry.
Yes, and anger derives from sadness, and it's disappointing to know that we entrust individuals to do good for the populace, and instead they take, whether it be gifts or bribes or, are treated in favor of others.
Well, it's interesting. So to catch people up on what's happening in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, which was really a vacation land of the White Mountains, pretty much from 1880 to roughly the 1940s, 50s. Something happened to the town, the 60s, 70s, 80s. And essentially today, it does not have the industries that really founded it: agriculture, tourism, logging industries. Those are all gone back in the day. Today, Bethlehem's main industry is essentially a landfill, which has its own kind of sordid history as well.
Yes, and it's interesting there. While this landfill, for the last 20 years or so, correct me if I'm wrong at any point, while this has existed, there's been this renaissance that has occurred there. All of these really inspired and motivated young farmers and dancers and potters and gardeners and loggers and everyone. I mean, there's been this renaissance, and it almost is reminding me of the maybe not quite as large and grandiose, because there aren't the old hotels that were once there, but in a sense, the people that have shown themselves that have been there, that have moved there, and are just remarkable. And everyone's trying
absolutely.
In the wake of this bad sort of disastrously environmentally, health-wise. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong. That is wrong with having a landfill in your town. And they aren't aware of it very much. There's not been, because they've kept. Well, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I remember from being at that last profile meeting, where the DES was there and a few of North Country Environmental Service employees and maybe Casella's lawyer. I'm not sure exactly, but. They don't allow for outside monitoring. Which,
that, to me, just screams red flag. That screams red flag. But...
like the town, there's no monitors from the town?
Yeah, that really kind of raises this red flag of who's really... can you trust what's actually being said and told to you? And the other thing about Bethlehem... it's almost like a tale of two towns, in a way, where you have this great divide, because you were talking about the Renaissance. But unfortunately, there's a group of people in Bethlehem who really want to hold on to this landfill for one reason or another. It apparently is this great deal for the town, which has historically high property taxes. There are more schools than the town probably knows what to do with, honestly. To add insult to injury, there's St. Johnsbury Academy in Vermont, just across the border, essentially, which is a private institution, a better education. So Bethlehem has Profile, the White Mountain School. There's another White Mountain School. I forget the name of that one. It's private.
White Mountain Regional.
White Mountain Regional. Thank you. Yeah. So there's all these schools, and apparently that's what keeps the property taxes so high in Bethlehem. But there's a lot that doesn't quite add up or make sense. But really I think what people are seeing is Casella's landfill. It's a publicly owned landfill from Casella. Casella Waste Management is the company. North Country Environmental Services is the subsidiary, just to make that clear. But
so in case anything were to go wrong, NCES would take the blunt of it.
Theoretically, but I think there's a lot of issues that are not being addressed, such as what happens if the public entity is purchased or merges with another entity. What happens to this landfill? Now, another thing, all towns technically have their own landfill. Just not all of them are publicly owned, which is the big red flag. You do not want a public corporation in your backyard. They are beholden to their shareholders, not to the townspeople. So I think there's a lot of misinformation that is being projected to the citizens of Bethlehem. And again, I noticed this divide of some people are staunchly attached to this landfill for the issue of property taxes. But unfortunately, NECS actually has a consulting firm, a law firm, that specializes in property tax management.
So North Country Environmental Service owns a company, a land tax management company?
No, that's who they hired.
Oh.
They've hired a law firm in Houston, Texas, to help them manage and minimize their property taxes.
In Bethlehem?
In Bethlehem, New Hampshire.
They're using a company out of Texas?
Yes, it's called Harding and Carbone.
What?
Oh, they have about
my goodness.
it's about $10 million of assessed property that is being funneled through the Harding and Carbone so they can reduce their property taxes. No one knows this. Very few people know this, I should say.
That is...
Yeah. I don't know.
That is something that you're hearing now, and I hope you take all this in, folks who are tuning in. You're tuning in to Fallon's Daily Toast. I've got with me Henrietta Killinger, and we're talking Bethlehem, New Hampshire, versus North Country Environmental Service, Casella Waste Management.
It's a big issue up there. I mean,
literally, it's 1,500 feet in elevation, about 1,000 feet from the Ammonoosuc River that runs about down through 13 towns before it hits the Connecticut. It's on marshland, you know.
Oh, and no one's even addressing the rundown effect.
Yeah.
That is... But here's my other beef. Last week, a tax assessor record was put on Facebook, the Bethlehem Facebook page, open to residents, former residents, summer residents of Bethlehem. It's a closed group, but anybody can join. This record was shown. It's a public record. And the interesting and scary thing for those who don't know about Bethlehem's past and history, in 2011, November 2011, an agreement was essentially signed by the select board at the time and Casella to agree 61 acres, they were capping it. Now, the alarming thing is that around 2010, the select board, specifically Sandy
Lalem, Jerry Blanchard,
and
Mike Culver, Mark Glavin.
Exactly.
Glavin.
These are all the people who signed this. Now, what I am most disturbed by is that there is a public record, the tax record, that actually had the name of Kevin Roy on it, who is the manager for NECS. Now, this is the worst part, where Sandy...
Wait, NCES.
NCES.
Okay,
Apologies,
Okay.
North Country Environmental Services.
Yeah.
Kevin Roy has been the manager for years now.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, he's moved to St. Johnsbury to get that academy in there. So I don't know if he's still paying taxes in the town.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely involved. Now, what's the biggest issue with this tax card? It had his name on it, had her name on it, it was a $20,000 cash payment made around the time that the select board was changing their tune, didn't want to fight Casella anymore, because they really did put them through the ringer with all these lawsuits.
You're talking Casella put the little town of
Oh,
Bethlehem.
yes. Yes.
The town ended, could you
it's a town of less than 3,000 people.
Oh, and how much money did they have to spend to fight Casella?
I don't have the figure, but it was definitely 6 figures at least. It was horrible for this little poor town. I mean,
and then a lot of people tuning in. I mean, even down here at that point, there wasn't much way to share what was happening. So and journalists and media, like mainstream media, wasn't really picking it up.
In 1994, I mean, we've come a long way since that's really when this whole mess in Bethlehem started. I mean, well, personally, I think it started back in the 60s or 70s with the Browns and the Sanborns who owned the dump, but we'll get into that. That's a future episode.
Okay, cool.
But
it's
disturbing.
It is disturbing. So that was that agreement that they were going to cap it off at 61 acres.
Exactly. So
and
here we are.
Now, and when was that? What year?
That was 2011. November 2011. Around Thanksgiving is when it was signed.
And they were to have expected to meet capacity.
So actually, from day one, Casella in their public records has been afraid of being filled to capacity. They have not wanted this, so they're not playing dumb, like, oh, it reached capacity. They've known that it could reach capacity. It's always been something they're trying to avoid. I'm not saying that Sandy took this $20,000 cash payment or whatever it was and bought this little trailer, but what's more disturbing is that this little town of Bethlehem that has cracking sidewalks, decaying streets,
roadways because of all the 16 and 18 wheelers that are flying
it's so
through.
dangerous.
I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. There should be a toll.
There should be. Something needs to be done with that road. 302 is dangerous.
It's all the dump trucks.
It's all the dump trucks and the Mack trucks cutting through. And, this is the real issue here. And this is kind of, I know I'm long-winded, this is my point.
The town taking back their town.
Well, it's also, Sandy decides that she's going to have a beef with the tax card that was a public record, and she wrote a little letter to the editor. She also misstates, I'm just going to quote right here. Yeah. This is a quote. "This past week, the tax record on a small piece of property my husband and I own in North Carolina was posted to the Bethlehem site on Facebook. This is a public document which has to be requested by an individual. Unfortunately, no, that is incorrect. You can find it online, just a quick search on the Brunswick County property assessor. Nope, no one called. And then she continues... let's see. Yada, yada, yada. A little fact-checking would have shown that the name on the card referred to is a prior owner. Unfortunately, the prior owner was named Kevin Jordan. Now, Kevin with a K-E-V-E-N. But I don't know a Kevin Roy who owned the property. It was also purchased as a foreclosure, so there had been a significant amount of time between the foreclosure and that Kevin Jordan owning the property.
So what you're saying is that the name that was on the document originally was Kevin Roy.
Absolutely.
And, wow. Okay, so that was pretty specific.
Absolutely. And I do know that on Friday the 13th, actually, of 2017, it looks like she called the property assessor and took the name off. Fortunately, the internet does not hide secrets.
That's true. We're living in the 21st century.
Yeah.
The World Wide Webitron.
Also, it seems pretty bothersome that Sandy decides to make a big stink over this tax record
Because of a big stink in the town.
in her stinky town. Oh, she's going to have quite the legacy
It's
when
really
she's
quite
gone.
unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, she's going to be the dump lady forever.
So I think what it comes down to, too, but I want to let you continue on.
Oh,
with
yeah,
this,
sorry.
but-
Basically, just the whole point. She's spending a lot of time working on the issues, not the people involved. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing has happened in Bethlehem for at least 20 years. The town is in worse shape than it's ever has been. There are dilapidated buildings. The streets, as we mentioned, are crumbling. What are you doing? What is the select board actually doing for the town instead of writing these little personal letter to the editor? Welcome to politics.
Yeah. You got that right. So I think what it comes down to, and I know, waste management and landfills all across the Northeast are meeting capacity, and that's what I've mentioned on the show. So to tie this together, I want to ask your opinion. Now, what are some of the solutions? So the townspeople aren't going to have their trash picked up every day. They're not going to have recycling taken to the landfill to be dumped when they're thinking that it might be actually taken off somewhere to get sorted.
Right.
I've always wanted to take a field trip to the Zero Sort facility, and I've never gotten the chance.
Oh, apparently, we might have to edit this part out. There might be a security camera in the front of the landfill entrance.
Interesting.
A little bird told me. So be wary if you drive by there at night. I wonder what they're hiding. That's true.
Probably Elvis.
I wish.
Probably Robin Williams.
No, I wish.
Maybe Assange. Maybe that's where Snowden is.
No, those are the good people. I think those are the good people. They wouldn't be. They wouldn't be in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. It's apparently when only the bad people go.
No, we know so
true.
many good people.
We love Bethlehem dearly.
That's the
we just
problem.
don't love what the select board and what a few holdouts are really doing. The landfill's not the answer.
No, it isn't. So I guess to kind of get back and reel it back in. The alternative is to take your own trash and either bury it in your fucking land, burn it.
Well, that's what Sweden does.
Take it to Carberry.
Yeah, Sweden burns their trash. They need so much trash, they're having to outsource their trash to burn.
Yeah, so the sustainability park, I want to talk about this.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the sustainability park. Let's talk about what true sustainability parks can actually provide a town. If it weren't going to be so expensive for them to build the infrastructure, for the town to build the infrastructure, I think that it's a brilliant idea. But unfortunately, that's not the case. They're essentially just going to
take the money and run.
Well, let's talk about, so the owner of this company, Jean Caselli, he's got like a $500,000 base pay a year.
His base salary is essentially $500,000, give or take. That's not including bonuses. That's not including his stock. He has Series A, B class shares. Roughly, the man's assessed at about $15 million. That's about what he's worth. And he's given the community about $8,000, although I heard he gave another $5,000 to the police recently. But to me, this all screams conflict of interest. I don't know if anybody in Bethlehem actually knows what that means, but it's
No, they do. And a lot of people, those that have been fighting for fucking 20 years, there's been a whole group of people that have been fighting.
It's tragic because people are done.
Some of the smartest people I know that live in that fucking
Brilliant.
town.
And it's a beautiful, that's the real tragedy, I think. It was this spectacularly brilliant town with 30 grand hotels, and people came up and spent all summer there and thought of it fondly, and up until the 1950s people were coming there for the summer, and what happened? How does a town lose that? And I mean, looking back, it's really when the dump kind of in the 70s is when the dump starts becoming an issue.
And even during that time, it never lost it, but it just kind of, there became almost this battle. It was when Polarization.
Oh, well, I mean, just from day one, it really seemed to start. I mean, let me read this article from 1987. Family Feud fuels battle over landfill in New Hampshire. This is an article from the Boston Globe. And it really starts like this. Roy Sanborn, attended Dan Tucker's wedding 7 years ago. But the two men, owners of neighboring land here, haven't spoken to each other in nearly 3 years. And really what started this conflict is the dump. And the ultimate irony and tragedy is it's Mr. Tucker who ended up selling that 123 acres.
And to a degree, Mr. Tucker, if you're listening, I'm so sorry.
We understand. We know why you did this. You were probably...
I wish, though, that... You know what I wish? I wish that the Amnesty Conservation Trust was the buyer. I wish that it would have been against the law to have sold that land to Casella, considering the agreement that was made. Because in any right world, and in my world, when you sign a document that says, I forever am beholden to this document that I will not come back, 61 acres is it, and I'll leave you alone. And what happened?
The past is coming back to haunt the town, and this might be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's not what you wanted to say.
No. Actually, that was pretty spot on.
Well, I mean...
So this is what's going on now?
This is what's going on now. I mean...
And so we just want to let y'all know that this is how we feel about it. And
we're not happy. We want to go back to Bethlehem, but...
All the time. I'd like to be there right now. Sitting at the Colonial Theater, maybe having a little cafe au lait at a Cold Mountain Cafe, or stopping into Interiors Green to pick up some neat handmade with love.
Or even that neat little bookshop that just opened on Main Street. That's
Ren,
so
too.
cute. Ren, there is so much treasure. But there is really this divide. And it's funny, because if you talk to people at the Bethlehem Heritage Society, they really see this them versus us.
It's very strange.
Oh, yeah. The old people versus the new people. But what have the old people done for Bethlehem? In my opinion,
it's all our land.
Not enough.
It doesn't matter that you've been there for 30, 20, 30 years, 40 years. If you're not investing in social equity like everyone else is, you're just, stifling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's important that everyone that's listening that is up to date with what's going on in Bethlehem currently, just know that we support you and that we're here, and you have Fallon's Daily Toast as a platform anytime you want it. And we completely are on the side of voting no.
No, vote no if you want a future for Bethlehem. If you care about your children, you will vote no.
And you'll come up with some really incredibly innovative, strategic, very well thought out recycling and trash waste management as a town.
There's so much potential, possibility.
The future is so bright with like new technology and with so many innovative ideas that are being implemented in parts of the world that we could adopt. So don't
go from resort town to dump town, please.
And this will do it.
This will do it. And I won't move back. I won't buy property. No one will invest in property in a dump town. There's plenty of other areas to invest in that region.
This is symbolic of what's happening all around the world, and I want you to know that.
This is what happens when a small group of people get all the power. Which group of people do you think that is in Bethlehem? Who has the power in Bethlehem?
Who has the power in Bethlehem?
And what are they doing with it? I think that's the biggest question Bethlehem
needs to. What are you
going to
do with it?
And what are you, Bethlehem taxpayers, going to do about this?
With your power.
You have voices, you have the power. It's time. It's Bethlehem's time.
And who's your lawyer working for? I heard recently that...
she's on Casella's payroll now. The old one.
What?
Yeah. The town lawyer's on Casella's payroll. That woman.
Is this?
Not Brian
This
Gould.
is real life.
Yeah, this is what's happening in our.
This is happening.
In our backyard.
Small towns. All right.
All right. Well.
Listen, I feel bitching. Like, you know what?
I'm done bitching about Bethlehem.
But we love you so much. So keep up the hard work. Okay?
We love Bethlehem. We do.
We do love the environment.
We want to have a future there.
Good. Yeah, we do.
We want to see a bright, beautiful future.
Yeah, like total dream is to have land, have a little farmstead, you know, get to see all of my favorite faces every morning for coffee at my papaya, or like have them over for
or the Colonial Theater.
Love the Colonial Theater.
I actually believe
love you so much.
The Colonial Theater is what saved Bethlehem.
I do too.
I think if it wasn't for the Colonial Theater really resurrecting and everybody rallying around that little building, I think Bethlehem would have been in the dumps years ago.
Yes, to Colonial Theater.
Yeah, Colonial Theater.
Love you.
Shout out.
Shout out. So I hope that wasn't. I hope that was just as informative as you needed it for it to be. And this is all about going into the future, educating, and just sharing what we know, sharing and caring, and just sharing the information. So thank you, Henrietta Killinger, for being on the show. All right. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And yes.
Until next time.
Until next time.